I'm in HD, baby. Let's see how this goes. Trying out a camera on my new phone. Blah, blah, blah. What matters is that you can hear what I'm saying, not that you can see every single stray hair in my head. This video that I'm about to commence is part of a sort of collaboration. Basically, Lee came to me a few weeks ago with an idea for a kind of, collaborative effort is the best way to put it. But that it would be me that starts the ball rolling. Now, most of this, it comes from him. It's us doing a bit of a creative, different kind of thing that is meant to make you think a bit. So basically, you probably will have seen a more appropriate title than one I'm currently thinking of, but this video is all about, I don't know, spreading some good vibes, getting you to think about yourself a bit more, a bit of a social experiment involving some good creative endeavour and just a way to stimulate a bit more of a creation of content, because let's face it, YouTube's been a bit dry the past few weeks. It's a pretty good time of year to start rallying people together to get to do something a bit different and interesting, because let's face it, the weather outside's horrible and everyone feels a bit One of the objectives of this video was to be succinct, and I'm already kind of failing at that, but let's sell what we're selling here. It's a bit of a ritual, as it were. What we want you to do is to come up with three things that you are good at, that you think are your strengths, that you do well, that you would say allow you to be confident in something. So tell us what those things are. Tell us why you think those things are your strengths. Unpack it a bit. You don't have to go into too much detail, but just have a think about, the sort of things you are good at. But then juxtapose that, I suppose, with one thing that you'd like to improve on, one thing you don't think you're that great at, one thing that you'd like to strive to better yourself about. Because, at the end of the day, while this is a sort of little endeavour for making people feel a bit better about themselves and realising they have these strengths, everyone has a weakness, no one's invincible. That's what it means to be human, and you've got to accept those failings, because once you accept them, then you can start to improve on them. And hopefully, maybe at the end of this, we'll have all found something that we can improve about ourselves, even if it is just a way to make slightly better videos. Who knows? It's all up to you. But basically, pack all that into a healthy video response, which of course these days won't be a proper video response, will it? But we'll endeavour to search out all the responses that you do make, because I know that Lee is very interested in seeing where all this goes, how it develops, how it spreads through our little networking community, from me as a starting point. But yes, video response time. Isn't that great? Yeah, I better start the ball rolling, hadn't I? Three things that I'm good at. Now, I had to think quite long and hard about some of this, at least. I'm going to go with number one being spontaneous creation, because that seems to be how I do the best stuff when I make things. Basically, I don't know, even now, before I turned my camera on, I had to rig up a little tripod out of some Lego for my phone. That's some spontaneous creation right there. I do seem to do the best videos, the best drawings, the best photographs at the drop of a hat, where I suddenly think, yeah, I'm going to do that. Oh, that looks like a good photograph, I'll take that. I've got an idea for a drawing, or just sitting doodling. That turns out a lot better than actually sitting down, taking the time, putting the real effort and preparing myself to do that kind of thing. I think that's one of my greatest strengths, is that spontaneity of creative output. If I get an idea into my head, I go, right, I'm going to make it. And if I don't get the chance to, then it sort of fizzles away, and I could come back to it later and it won't be that same germ of an idea that I would have had at the start. Number two, and now going in some sort of narrative order, number two was very difficult for me to come up with. I came up with a second thing that I'm good at, but that's going to be left for number three. Number two was I need to think of a third thing. I can't really think of a third thing. So I suppose, I could have just sat and go, I'm quite good at writing stuff, I can make a witty remark. I think a lot of things that I could alternatively say I'm good at, all that can just stem back to the spontaneous creation thing. So I thought, really, it's got to be something different, something that I do, perhaps at a daily basis, and maybe I don't realise, but it actually does form part of my life. And so my second thing is just appreciation of things, I suppose, in a way. I'm quite a sentimentalist, and I don't know how much of that ever comes through in videos or whatever. I don't remember the last time I sort of went out to do a video because I was feeling sentimental about something. But yeah, I like to take the time to appreciate things, especially if I know those things are going to change or end. I find myself doing that quite a lot, and maybe it isn't a strength in the long run, but I certainly feel like I'm good at that. I certainly notice myself doing it a lot more than I see like other people do that sort of thing. I do enjoy just taking the time to take something in and just feel like I'm not taking something for granted, I suppose. So that brings me to the last thing, I guess. I was just sort of sat there thinking, what else am I good at? And I realised, thinking. Introspection is my last facet of goodness, if you like. I do it quite a lot, actually. Yeah, I do just like to sort of sit and think about my place in the grand scheme of things, what I'm doing, where I'm going, that kind of thing. Gets the gears in my head rolling in what feels like the right order. Puts me in a very sort of productive frame of mind afterwards, very focused, very, I don't know, right. Just coming up with that sort of string of right ideas, you know, right speech, right thought kind of thing, that it feels good to just sort of sit and do and think. And I suppose in a way that's what this whole video is going to end up being, a bit of introspection. So then, what's my weakness? Could have picked a couple of things here, especially what with it being the last year at uni for me, and I'm having some issues with my time management, and let's forget about that. Let's look at a kind of bigger picture deal, because I would say if there's one sort of overarching weakness that I have, one thing that I'm not very good at, it's seeing things in the long run. I'm kind of a big picture person, but let's imagine it's a small slice of that big picture that doesn't really last that long, and I can tell you what I'm doing next week, I can tell you what I'm doing next month, maybe even in the new year. Beyond that, it's kind of an abyss, a gaping dark void that kind of just makes me think, I've never known what I want to do when I grow up. I still don't. I've nearly finished university, I'm 21. I should hopefully be going into a job through all of this studying whatnot at the end, but I still couldn't tell you if that's really what I want to do. I honestly do not know where I will be in 10 years' time, and maybe that's my biggest weakness. I've just never been able to see where my life is really going. Maybe that's a good thing, you know, just go with the flow, baby. The one thing, the only thing that I've ever wanted to be was an astronaut, and I can't do that. So, kind of maybe feels like somewhere in the deep recesses of my mind that any other job prospect is like the second best thing, and it's not really what I want, but I have to live with that. So, if there's one weakness I have that is really worth mentioning, it's that I have no idea what I'm cut out for. But there you go, there's my little shred of introspection for you. Time to do yours, and hopefully me and Lee will see everyone's. Hopefully you'll be someone that we're already subscribed to, so we'll see it anyway. It's just a shame that video responses don't really exist anymore, because that would prevent anything from slipping through the cracks, but we'll try our best and gather the data and complete our experiment to whatever end this experiment is going towards. I couldn't tell you. But if you're up for it, please do get involved, because it's just, yeah, could be interesting. We'd like to see where all this goes, how it spreads out, and lives it permeates, and that kind of rubbish. So get thinking. Stay dandy, baby.